One of the first civil rights leaders to emerge during this post-Reconstruction period, 1880s or so, was Booker T. Washington. If you remember the importance of author, context, audience, and purpose, Booker T. Washington was born a slave in the South, and he raised himself up through finding education and through his own hard work. In fact, he's the one that's going to found the Tuskegee Institute, which provided vocational training for African Americans. Tuskegee is where George Washington Carver was working. You may remember Carver as the peanut guy, but he did much more than that. He was trying to develop new crops to help aid those sharecropping farmers that were in poverty. Booker T. Washington is a complicated figure in this history. Booker T. Washington felt that vocational education or jobs training was more important than immediately seeking out social and political equality. His argument was essentially that by showing the ability to hold a job, follow the laws, and be good citizens, that African Americans could earn their way up into full equality. He also is very aware, being born a slave in the South, what happens to an African American when they start talking too loudly about equality. Somebody that is too assertive in advocating for their political rights winds up getting lynched. As Southern businessmen started to open up their textile mills in the South following Reconstruction, Booker T. Washington pleaded with them to give jobs to the freedmen. Here he faced a lot of they faced a lot of discrimination, but also the way that he went about this was seen as problematic, sometimes called the Atlanta Compromise. Washington was seen as accepting second-class citizenship in exchange for jobs, which, even though he was lobbying hard behind the scenes, not publicly, but privately searching for full equality, he was seen as accepting this second-class citizenship. This was more accepted, especially among the white Southerners. They didn't have to give up anything. They could promise to eventually someday think about providing full equality. In exchange, the African Americans would be quiet, work hard, and accept poor pay, and there was no promises made. Washington was received very well by African Americans in the South, knowing that people that were too assertive, especially freedmen, would wind up being lynched. But it's in the North where Northern African Americans criticized was referred to as gradualism, some people calling this accommodation. And people like W.E.B. Du Bois are going to push for more immediate full equality.